Please.
So everybody, Bruce Witchel here at Sutton Summit with his story and his success story in real estate.
Good. Well, thank you. I just want this to be very open, very casual. And, my whole goal here is to just give you hopefully some tips that will help you. And even if you walk away from all of this with one tip that helps your business or your personal life, then I'm happy. So I've made a number of notes, and I've made it into about 10 different categories to discuss with you today. I'll probably talk for, I don't know, about 20 minutes, half an hour, something like that. And then I'll leave it open to questions and answers and discussion about anything. So what I always feel important is, to start with my background, and don't be afraid to tell people, your clients and whatever, your history. It's very important that they understand a bit about you, your background. And that's how you actually develop relationships with your clients. So I'll give you a bit of background on me. I'm from Toronto originally. And when I was growing up, all I really cared about was playing sports. I was a good athlete, and I played at a very high level, and I really didn't care about my scholastics at all. And did that hurt me? Of course it hurt me. But I was lucky enough to get through high school and make it to university. And in university, my major in university was playing on the varsity hockey and tennis teams. So that's really what was the most important to me. But I was lucky enough to get through university and get my BA. And even before university, I should tell you where I started working. And I was 12 years old, and I was always, I don't know, I was industrious. I always wanted to do something. So I actually started selling drinks at the CNE, and I made 2.5 cents for every drink. And I didn't even care. It wasn't about the money. It was about the fun of doing it and the challenge of doing it, etc. So I also worked, I guess I started in retail when I was about 16. I worked in retail, working for Thrifties and then for Le Chateau. And, I bounced around at a number of other jobs. And right out of university, I started with TD Bank and was with them for 2 years, and then with Estee Lauder. And then I got my real break, and I created my break, but I started working with Johnson & Johnson, the major US retailer. And that's where I learned sales. And I'm bringing that up because it was important. I had a real background in sales. They sent me on sales training courses with Xerox and Dale Carnegie and one thing and another. And that really was my university education of sales and marketing and professionalism. I remember distinctly my manager one time came and was working with me, and he made a point that has stuck with me for the rest of my life. And that was, Bruce, I would rather you be 10 minutes early for any appointment than 1 minute late. And that stuck with me. And you know what? It has done me well, because when I knock on a door, I knock on a door at exactly the time that they want me to come in and see them. I'm not 1 minute late, but I'm also not 5 minutes early. I will sit in my car, look on my phone and do whatever, because they're not prepared for me to be there at that time. They want me to be there at the scheduled time of 11 o'clock. And my manager at Johnson & Johnson taught me that. What else? So why did I get into real estate? I'll actually play something for you, which is funny. This is for all those people who know the music artist Gino Vanelli.
Bruce, you actually have to click on share audio, otherwise we're not going to hear anything.
I'm sorry, I didn't hear you.
Well,
Sorry,
Oh, I'm sorry. Could you not hear that?
no. If you go on the microphone, to the left of the microphone, there's a little button, and then if you
Yep.
scroll down and select share audio, it's going to share the audio. But right now we can just hear your mic.
Oh, okay. I see
but
share screen. Anyway, it doesn't matter. Not important. It was a song called "People Gotta Move," and you know, I realized something when I wanted to get into something on my own. I realized that it was something that everyone has to have, which is shelter. And everyone has to move and everyone needs a place to live. And so that was why I chose real estate. My story of real estate, I'll make it brief, but I think it's important that you understand to be determined. When I went to get my real estate course, they said that there was a waiting list of 6 months. And I went, I'm not waiting 6 months. So what did I do? I went down to when a course was starting and I got there at 7 o'clock in the morning and I waited and waited and waited. And sure enough, it was full. And I said to the person admitting everyone, I said, I've been sitting here since 7 in the morning and I waited for them. And they said to me, it's okay. I said, please just let me in case someone cancels. And at 11 o'clock, sure enough, she let me in, even though they didn't have an opening. And I got my license. It wasn't easy for me, but I got my license. Why did I start in real estate? I knew that I was a people person. I knew that I loved dealing with people. And my whole thought was to be a farmer. And what do I mean by a farmer? A people farmer. Talk to everybody and everybody that I could possibly meet and tell them what I was doing and see if I could help them. So I started in real estate in 1988. I started with Royal LePage. And luckily, they sat me beside the top producer in the office. His name was John Lavin. And my broker of record at the time said, do everything that John Lavin does. And I watched John every day. He was so disciplined. He was so determined. He would cold call every day. He would door knock. He would say to me, I'm going door knocking for 2 hours. Do you want to join me? And I would say, absolutely. And I learned from him what was necessary to do in real estate. Anyway, I started to do a couple of deals, and sure enough, the recession came along. And my broker of record at the time said, Bruce, it's up to you, but it's going to be a tough ride for a while. And if you want to stay in real estate, it's going to be tough. Luckily, I had some other opportunities. So I left real estate for about 10 years, went into a number of other businesses, et cetera, et cetera. How did that work out? It worked out okay, but I had some investments and I invested in some companies and one thing and another. And at the age of 50, I was at the bottom of the barrel. I didn't have much at all. And I was really suffering. I was currently renting at the age of 50. I was single. And my bank account at the age of 50 was $5,000. And I'm not joking. And I came to Mississauga and I met with Brian McGuire. And I said to Brian, I'm desperate. I have to do something because my life is not working. We talked for about 3.5 hours. And I realized that that was the broker of record and the brokerage that I wanted to be affiliated with. And he said to me at the time, if you do all the things that you say you're going to do, you'll be successful. But you have to do all those things. And I literally worked 7 days a week. I'm going to say 8 to 10 hours a day, doing all the things that I said I was going to do. I door knocked every day. I cold called every day. I spoke to people. I networked. I did whatever I had to do. Sorry?
Sorry, I think somebody's mic is on. I'll just turn it off. Not sure who that was.
That's
Because if you
okay.
can just turn your mic off, that would be best. Sorry, go ahead, Bruce.
All right. So what was my plan? My plan was to start small. I had no money at all. So I looked around all of Mississauga and I did all kinds of research and homework. And what I wanted to do was find an area that there was no real estate specializing in that area and that they had control of that area. And I drove around. And sure enough, I found a pocket that I absolutely loved. It was at Bristol and McLaughlin. And no one was absolutely dominating that market. So what did I do? I found one condo townhouse complex, 470 Faith Drive at Bristol and McLaughlin, which I loved. It was a relatively new complex. And I door knocked. I door knocked every single door of that complex. And all of a sudden I got to unit number 44 and they opened the door and they said, yeah, what is it? I said, well, hi, my name's Bruce Witchel. I'm a real estate agent. And I was wondering if you'd be interested in selling your home. He turned around and he said to his wife, oh, before he did, he looked at me and he said, can you get me $340,000 for my condo townhouse? And I went, yes, I can. And he turned around to his wife and he said, there's a guy here who said he can get us $340,000 for our home. Do you want to sell? And she went, okay. And I got my first listing. And guess where that led to? I did open houses. I let all the people in that complex know. They came to my open house. They met me. I sold it for $342,000. And guess what? Since that time, that became my farm area. I have sold, I think, 45 units in that complex, but I expanded from there and went to 200, 300, 500. How did I start? By making flyers at Sutton Group Summit, black and white flyers that I created and printed them on a photocopier. I had no money. I had to do whatever I had to do. And that was my start. Okay, next thing that I wrote here. Then what happened? Okay. Did I have a plan? I think I mentioned to you, yes, about the plan and what I did. How much did you spend on your marketing initiatives and did it pay off? Yes. So I went to a seminar. It was a 3-day seminar in Phoenix, Arizona, and it was a Craig Proctor seminar. And it was eye-opening for me. I couldn't believe they had probably 5,000 people. And Craig brought up his top 10 producers. And I'm going to share with you what I saw and what he shared that absolutely changed everything that I did in real estate. First thing that I saw, all 10 people that he brought up to the stage to talk were dressed professionally. They all were wearing suits, not necessarily ties, but they were professional looking. And I can't point out to you, if you want to wear jeans and a t-shirt or a golf shirt, good for you. But guess what? They're going to look at you and they're not going to consider you to be a professional person. You never or very rarely do you see in a professional environment dressed like that. So that was one of the first things. Secondly, they all said the same thing. What was the key to their success? The key to their success, they hired an assistant. Now, I didn't have a lot of money, but I thought about that and I said, why would I want to do all the menial jobs? I want to do in real estate what's going to make me money and be most effective. And I hired an assistant. Unfortunately, the first one didn't work out, but my second one was unbelievable and became one of my best friends even to today. Her name was Tina McQuaid, and she was a real estate agent with Sutton Group, but she wanted to learn from me and to grow with me, etc. And she worked with me for 14 years, and absolutely that was how I grew my business. So next. The other thing that I learned at the seminar was to invest no more than, but 20% of the amount of money that you make in real estate, invest 20% back into real estate the next year to grow your business. And I did that with marketing, with advertising, all kinds of different things. You know, I was a big advertiser in marketing with Mississauga News. I had a number of different channels that I used. There was a magazine that came out, I think it was called the Real Estate Book or something. And, you know, was it effective? It was effective enough to me to get out there and to get people to know who I was and what I was doing. Okay, what do I feel that I do differently from other agents? There's no question my persistence and my dedication to real estate and my professionalism. And that I have to, you know, focus on, because there are so many agents out there who will go in and make presentations and do certain things, but they don't do it properly. And if you do, and you do all the right things, and you're professional with everything that you do in your life, it will pay off for you. First and foremost, I have a lot of marketing channels out there. I answer my phone, and Sabiha will you know, back me up with this. I don't think you have ever called me, Sabiha, where I don't answer my phone call. I answer my phone every single time it rings. If I'm busy or if I'm in the middle of something, I will say to them, sorry, I can't talk right now. Is it urgent? If it's urgent, I'll deal with it. If it's not urgent, I say, I will call you back within an hour. I'm in the middle of something right now. But at least I acknowledge their phone call. There's nothing more frustrating than a person getting a voicemail, and you will lose business if you don't answer your phone, because you may have an opportunity to work with someone and all of a sudden they get your voicemail, and guess what? They'll move on to the next agent. And if they answer the phone, they'll talk real estate with them. What else? Okay. Caring. You know, I can't stress enough, and I've asked a number of agents before, when you go on a listing appointment, how long is your listing appointment? And they go, I don't know, a half hour, an hour? My listing appointments range from 2 to 3 hours, every single one. Why? I don't even talk real estate for the first half hour. I get to know them. I get them to know me. And I talk about everything about them, what they're doing, why they're thinking of selling, a bit about their background, about their children, and I make thorough notes. I have notes on every single client I've ever dealt with, and I know the age of their children, I know the names of their dogs, I know where they vacation, everything. That endears them to me and endears me to them. I want to form a connection with people. It's not about us. It is about them. And if they feel comfortable, you know, with you, you have a much better chance of getting that listing than someone else. Let's think what else. I'll give you another story and talk about caring. I was working with, and I'll tell you their first names, not their last names. I was working with a client a number of years ago, and I had sold their home and they needed to buy a home. Their names are Gabe and Stella. And I started showing them homes, and I maybe showed them 5, 6, 7 homes. All of a sudden I showed them a property, And we came out of the property and I looked at Stella and I said, so what do you think, Stella? And Stella said, yeah. And I looked at Gabe and I said, what about you, Gabe? What do you think? Gabe went, yeah. And I went, okay, get back in your car. That's not the home for you. And they went, well, what do you mean? I said, it's not the home for you. I know what you're looking for. I know you're getting very anxious and you want to purchase a home. This is not your home. Don't worry, we will find your home. Stella started crying. She said, I'm so frustrated. I said, I know that, but this is not your home. I said, so get back in your car. We'll go look at other homes. And about, I'm going to say 2 more homes, 3 more homes. We walked in. Stella hadn't even been in the home for 3 minutes. She turned around and looked at me with tears in her eyes and said, Bruce, this is my home. And she bought it and she's still living in it. Now, why am I saying that? I'm saying that I could have written up an offer for the home that they initially saw. It wasn't their home. Now, would they have bought it? Yes. Would they have made it into their home? Yes. But I truly felt, now, if they had said to me, we want to buy the home, I would have, but they actually agreed it was not the right home for them. Okay, next. Genuine. So if you meet people, and I'm going to go into open houses, you know what? Maybe I'll go into open houses right now because something just happened to me a week and a half ago. And why am I going to tell you this story? Because a number of years ago, a woman walked into one of my open houses and her name was Angie. And we talked about real estate and talked about different things. She said, you know, I'm not ready to sell right now, but, you know, keep in touch with me. I kept in touch with her. I'm going to say every 3 months or so. Hi, Angie, it's Bruce Witchel. How you doing? How's everything? Oh, good. Nice to hear from you. How's everything going? Back and forth. Out of the blue, 2 years ago, she called me up and she said, Bruce, I'm ready to sell my home. Come over. I had already made the impression with her. I went over, I listed her home for sale, sold her home, and bought her next home because I kept in touch with her. Now, open houses. I don't know how many people do open houses, and I don't know if you know the whole way of doing an open house. So I'm going to focus on that right now. How are we doing time-wise, Sabiha?
Oh, we're great. We're great.
Okay. Sorry to keep rambling on, but I will take your questions and whatever, but I have to share a story with you. And that is open houses. Do I think they're important? Yes, I do.
That's what we're here for, Bruce, is to hear you today. So
thank you. So what about open houses? Are they important for the seller? Not really. Let's be honest. They're not really. What is the likelihood someone is going to walk into an open house and buy that home? Now, is there an advantage to the seller? Yes, there is. Agents don't have to make appointments. They know they can bring their clients there between 2 and 4, and there's going to be the listing agent there to have the lights on and show the house the best that it can and maybe answer questions and whatever. So there are certain benefits to the seller of the property. The main benefit of an open house is for you as an agent to show yourself off and to present yourself. I'm going to tell you a story. This happened a week ago. I listed a property for sale, ironically, at 470 Faith Drive, where I started farming. How did I meet them? I met them 2.5 years ago, and they kept in touch with me. I discussed everything with them 2.5 years ago. Never heard back from them until about a month ago when they said they wanted to sell their house. So put it up on the market. I did an open house, started at 1:30 because I wanted to, actually, I take that back. I started at 9 o'clock in the morning because I knew exactly where I wanted to put my open house signs before any other agent put out their open house signs. So mine was the lead one in exactly the 7 locations pointing to that open house. I got there at 1:30, turned on all the lights. I brought music to play. I had everything all prepared. So at exactly 2 o'clock, everyone walked into the open house. One of the other tips about an open house, make it fun, make it enjoyable for people. I have a contest every time I do an open house. What's the contest? The contest is to anyone who wants to do it, they don't have to, put down what you think the house is going to sell for. And the closest one who guesses to what the final selling price is, I will give a gift card. And I do that every single time. Guess what? It helps me and my clients because they get to see what the public think of what their home is worth. And I had about 20 people in the open house on the first day and 30 people in the second day. Now, of all of those people that were there, I'm going to tell you what happened. And here's how to conduct an open house. The first question that I ask people is, welcome to my open house. Are you currently represented by a realtor? If they are, let them go. Let them walk around, let them sign the register. If they want to walk around the house, I don't want to focus on them. If they're with another realtor, let them be with another realtor. However, guess what happened? A couple came in, they were talking with me, asking me questions. I said, are you with a realtor? No. And how are you motivated to buy a home? Yes, we are, but this isn't really the home for us. I went, I didn't even care about anyone else walking into that home. I focused on them. I answered their questions. We talked about the market. We talked about areas. We talked about price range. We talked about everything. Guess what? 3 days after my open house, they called me, they met with me, they signed a BRA, and they bought a house with me 2 days after. That's what happened. So, did I sell 470 Faith? I sold 470 Faith in a bidding war for $90,000 over my asking price, but more importantly, $20,000 higher than the expectation of my sellers. Were they happy? You bet they were. And guess what? Now the best part. So was I. Someone walked into the open house, was not represented by an agent, and I double-ended that property. Everyone was thrilled. The buyer was thrilled. The seller was thrilled. And so I hope that's inspirational to you because that's what you do in real estate. Okay, let me continue here. Let's talk about a key factor. I don't know if you know much about me, but I am a positive person. I always think that things are going to work out, and I'm always positive with my thoughts and what I think about it and how I discuss things with people. A number of years ago, an agent at Sutton Group came up to me and said, Bruce, you know, can you help me? I'm really struggling right now. And I had a chat with them and they said, you know, I'm really going through a tough time right now. And I said, tell me. Well, I had this one client and this, and they tricked me and this, and they went into this whole story. And I felt very badly for the agent. And I said, I'm sorry to hear that, you know, and how long ago did that happen? And the agent said, 2 months ago. I said, 2 months? Why are you still harboring feelings and being negative about something that happened 2 months ago? When something happens bad, and things will happen that are bad, get over it. That's just part of life. Move on and move on to better things and more positive and happy things. Okay, just part of what I do every night before I go to sleep, and I learned this a long time ago. I want to have my head clear that I can have a good night's sleep. I make my to-do list for the next day. I don't wait to do it in the morning because I may not be clear, I may not be focused. Before I go to sleep, I write on a piece of paper in priority, what are the things that I want to do that day? And sure enough, I wake up, I go to my desk, and it's just sitting there, and I start working. Okay, next. I'm almost finished, by the way. I hope you're not bored. Okay. Time management. Well, that obviously goes hand in hand with everything else. Don't waste your time. One of the other things, we are not customer service representatives. We are in sales. We are not tour guides. I will not leave my home to show a property to anyone who calls me unless they agree to sign a BRA with me. Now, I've learned the hard way, don't scare them off by signing a BRA, a blanket BRA, because they don't know who you are. But if they want to see an individual property, I will do that, but only if they sign a BRA for that one property only. Otherwise, I will not go, period. How did I learn that lesson? Because someone promised they were going to sign the BRA when we got to the property. I had it all filled out, and guess what? We got to the condo, and I said, okay, so we need to sign this before. And he went, no, just show me the condo and I'll sign it upstairs. And I went, no, that's not what we agreed upon. I want you to sign the BRA now before we see the property. No, I'm not doing that. I went, okay, goodbye. And I left. And I just learned a lesson. I'm not leaving my office to waste my time on anybody. Okay. Here's absolutely the key thing in real estate, which I said to myself the moment I got my license. Do not cut corners ever. It's easy. Don't ever do it. Do everything by the book and the way it's to be done. My goal was to never, ever, ever be called in front of ethics. And to this day, after 32 years of being licensed, I have never been called before ethics because I take pride in what I do, and I do it the right way. Okay, a little tip. When I'm working with a buyer, part of my discussion with any buyer, I will pay for their home inspection. They can choose the home inspector if they want, or I can suggest it. But guess what? I will never sell a property to anyone without doing a home inspection. I don't care if it's a bidding war, and I will pay them for that home inspection. So it's just something that I offer as part of my platform. Follow-ups. I follow up with everybody, and I've got to tell you, where do I have this written here? Give me 1 second. Okay, I'm going to go back one step here, and it says, the keys to my success. A lot of it has to do with the people around me, my family, my friends, the brokerage support that I have been receiving. I mentioned Tina McQuaid, who worked with me for 14 years. Vince Carnival taught me something a long time ago when I first started. He said, Bruce, focus on the clients that you know are good to you and that are going to continue working with you. And he said, Bruce, I focus on my top 100 clients, and that's all I do. I go to their family functions. I call them all the time. I tell them what's going on. And Vince, thank you for that, because I have continued in that way. Absolutely, for sure. Gordon Daly was also a major factor. He was one of the top producers in the brokerage when I started, and I give him a lot of thanks for the guidance that he gave me, but absolutely the most important person that has helped me and been my loyal, closest friend and confidant has been Bill Orr. And I have to reach out to Bill because without his friendship, I don't know if I would have stayed in the brokerage, because he is just the absolute nicest, classiest guy that I know. Okay, let's, I'm almost wrapped up here. So I talked about client follow-ups. If I have nothing going on, I just go into my database and I call people. How you doing, John? How's everything? How are the kids? By the way, did they have that hockey tournament last week? How did they do? Client touches are the most important thing. I have every single birthday of every single client of mine, and I call them personally on their birthday every year. Now, I started something a number of years ago, and I did about 8 or 9 of them. I had client appreciation luncheons where I had a restaurant, and I had at least 200 of my clients come to that restaurant. I gave away prizes, speeches, testimonials, walked around, talked to everyone, and they had a beautiful meal, and they would go home with a smile on their face. Okay. What else here? I think I'm almost finished. So yeah, I'm pretty well finished. Everything that I really wanted to get across. I hope it was informative for you.
Bruce,
I will leave it.
I'm going to jump in and I'm just going to thank you because this was literally an one-on-one encyclopedia of how to run your own business and not just specific to real estate. I think business in general. You've touched on so many wonderful, great points. What has jumped out on me is your connection with your co-realtors. A lot of people don't understand the value of staying connected with your colleagues and really understanding that they are your colleagues and not, usually realtors are hiding whatever they're doing. They don't want to share. They don't want to talk within the brokerage. And Bruce, you just being here is a testament to that, right? The fact that you initially started off with someone else when they were hosting open houses, going for farming, knocking on doors, you went along with them. And then
Right.
throughout your business, you had a Bill, you had other people that you stayed connected. I know the kind of personality you have. There's never a moment where you're not willing to have a conversation with someone or, direct them in someone. So this is really key, guys, that we do actually understand that it's important to stay connected with other realtors, networking, talking, speaking, chatting, give them an idea, take an idea from them. It's a huge, big support system, and that's amazing. Another thing I feel, Bruce, is you said you left the industry and then you came back.
Right.
This morning when Bruce and I were having a conversation, guys, I actually told Bruce to talk about trying times because I feel right now is a time where we're not sure of what's happening. We really don't know what to tell our clients. The business is such that it's very uncanny times for all of us. And to understand that you have to stay steadfast, you have to stay on the horse is what I told Bruce, when we were talking about it. And the story that Bruce actually came back and was not doing that well outside of the industry. But when he came back with fresh hunger, and he didn't have that opportunity not to succeed. So he did whatever it took, he knocked on doors, he printed his little flyers, he did whatever he did, but you have to burn your boats and get on the island. Otherwise, that success story comes out from people who have no other place but to succeed. If you cannot succeed, there's no other choices on the table. When you have choices, you kind of dabble into things, right? But I think that hunger to put you on the stride is very important. Bruce, you're mentioning the 20% marketing. Guys, so important, right? Any business that we set up, and I've been in business, you guys know about that. Any business that you set up, whether it's a bakery shop or it's a mechanic shop or it's a printers, you have to get a location, you have to get the staff, have to get the mechanics, you have to put a sign on top of your shop. And real estate is no different, right? It is a business. You are entrepreneurs. You're running your own businesses. If you do not put your signboard out there that you are in business, people will not know that you are out there. You gotta put yourself out there. You have to put in those 8 hours. I've been to Bruce's home office. It's fully set up. It's an office. He spends time working every single day, and that's what real estate is all about. You cannot sit on your couch and watch TV and expect business to come through your doors. Will not happen. Dress for success. I love that, Bruce, because I'm kind of like I may not be, like it's not necessarily suits, but guys, I think it's so important for us to look like professionals. Anybody else doing a 9 to 5 job gets dressed in the morning and goes out to work. We should be no different. If somebody is meeting you at a coffee shop, if somebody sees you, and you have to put that professionalism out there, a lot to do with branding, a lot to do with who you show yourself as, right? And Bruce, you talked about spending money on newspaper ads, spending money on different marketing platforms, right? So it was a constant business that you built in, which was amazing. Lastly, but not least, is the to-do list the night before. I love that, Bruce, because that gives you direction. If you don't have that to-do list, you don't wake up in the morning on time, you don't have an agenda already. That to-do list will put you on your feet and get you running, because the worst thing that happens to realtors is they lose hope, right? We give our exams, we join a brokerage, we start all bright-eyed and bushy-tailed, and we start sliding because we're not seeing, people coming through our doors. And they will not come into our doors unless we actively put things on the table, right? I will give you an example of what's happened recently, right? I think 3 weeks or 4 weeks ago, David and I had a conversation about recruiting, right? I talked to him, he talked to me. I said I need help with it. But just that conversation, because that's my forte right now, is to recruit realtors. Just that conversation, from nothing, we have 5 people that we spoke to this week to recruit. The second you put your mind to something, you start attracting that. So start making a conscious effort. And that to-do list, I just love that. If you have your day planned for tomorrow, you will wake up and you'll be up and running for that day. So thank you so much, Bruce. Guys, we have a little bit of time. If you want any direct questions to be answered by Bruce, by all means, unmute yourself and have the conversation. But honestly, Bruce, thank you so much, because you touched on so many big points.
Yeah,
go
I
ahead.
To say, yeah, sorry, I was Bruce. Thank you very much. And you think we probably may be same age group? I'm 62 now. So back in '88, when you said you were Johnson, my wife worked with a lot of product with the Johnson. She was with the CCL Industries. She was packaging there, and she bringing a lot of Johnson's product home because they were giving them end of the month, right? So like the same journey you had, like I can go back and look back those years, because I came to this country in 1984. So I gone through packaging myself, like I was a compounder for Absco aerosols. So like I started real estate 2003. So like telling your background and stuff, like it really helped when you talk to people. I did accounting back home, then a number of different jobs here.
Yep.
Sometimes you get connected with somebody from there, sometimes you're telling the background, sometimes it helps somebody say, oh yeah, I used to do the same thing, right? So thank you very much. It was a very eye opener, and
Good.
your work ethics are great. Still, you have a lot of energy till now, so which is going to motivate a lot of new agents,
My pleasure.
Yeah, we do have a lot of new realtors on this call, Bruce, and that's the one key thing is, guys, you gotta put hard work into whatever you do. There is no other way of doing it.
Sabiha, I'm
Yes.
just I'm gonna leave with one last thing.
Mhm.
And this is on my board right behind where I sit every day. I've been looking at this since I've been, I'm gonna say 30 or so. This is when I first found it. It's by Calvin Coolidge. And here's what he wrote. Nothing in this world can take the place of persistence. Talent will not. Nothing is more common than unsuccessful people with talent. Genius will not. Unrewarded genius is almost a proverb. Education will not. The world is full of educated derelicts. Persistence and determination alone are omnipotent. The slogan, "Press on," has solved and always will solve the problems of the human race. And that's it. It just boils down to it. And that's basically what I have lived. My whole motto, my whole life is just keep going and don't worry about what's happened in the past and don't worry about what could happen in the future. Just keep going.
Wonderful. Thank you so much, Bruce. Thank
My
you, everybody,
pleasure.
for joining.
Thank you, Bruce.